I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing.
Not for nothing. Nobody asked him, but okay. Tara, he did do something, though. He called, as Chrissy just reminded us, the Palm Beach sheriff, described Ghislaine Maxwell as totally evil. He also, in his own telling, was mad that Jeffrey Epstein took someone from him, and that someone was Virginia. Stole someone from him, was Virginia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? And now the Epstein files are all about exonerating him, not what they're revealing to the public about a story that has been obviously not a story, but a case that has been pushed aside for so long. It's a sad day. I mean, a lot of people feel vindicated. I think most people feel that way. I think a lot of people feel like finally power is no longer protecting itself anymore, that even elites have to face the music sometimes. But perhaps in the president's world, that's not the case. Some people are kings and they don't have to deal with this. So I don't think the rest of America, especially not the people that voted for him, the populist base, would think it was so sad that someone who committed a crime didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, 86% of all Americans, that's almost, not, strongly or somewhat disagree with the statement that the Epstein files show that powerful people agree with the fact that the Epstein files show that powerful people are rarely held accountable. Only 11% of people disagree with them, which is probably the membership at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, this is like a 90-10 issue. There is no disagreement in the country that for kings and presidents, and then I guess commerce secretaries, there's no consequence to being associated with a dead, convicted child sex trafficker. But you know, even the Lutnick statement, the Lutnick statement is so important because it projects such knowledge of child predation. He says, I went in with 3 nannies and 3 kids, and I came out with those 3 nannies and 3 kids. Like, nobody asked him. Nobody asked for a head count. Nobody asked if he took roll in and out. But only someone who knows that young children and women were potential prey for Jeffrey Epstein says before Congress, I went to the island for lunch. Oops, sorry, forgot to tell you, but I went in with 3 nannies and I came out with those 3 nannies.
Wow. Right? It's a little oversharing, right? And the same way that some would say overshared when he volunteered to the New York Post in that podcast, that he only went to his neighbor, Jeffrey Epstein's house once. And he was creeped out and he was there with his wife and he quickly left. But it was just kind of like a voyeuristic interest in seeing what goes on in there. He saw a massage table. He just volunteered that. And turns out he was lying all along. He said he cut off contact after that. No, you wanted to go to his island. Or Elon Musk, who was like, Trump's going to get blown up in the Epstein files. And here he is being like, party, party, party. Can I come to your island? Girls, girls, girls. It's like, okay, bro, we know what you're all about. It's revealing how many people are in leadership positions or are close to those, advising those in leadership positions. And they're not high-minded people. They're not thinking about their roles in society or trying to better society. In fact, when you read these Epstein files, they're mostly about sex.
And to her point, the UK drawing quite a contrast with the US this morning. In those words, no one is above the law. In the UK, that appears to be true.
Yeah, Mika, I had a call a couple nights ago from a solicitor who I've known for 35 years in London, who's been doing law at the highest levels of the UK legal world for pretty much that entire time. He said he's never seen anything like this in his entire adult life. And his entire legal career, the scale of the degree to which the British establishment, the political, economic, financial, and obviously the royal establishment have been rocked by the Epstein scandal is unlike anything he's ever seen. And of course, it begs the question you're talking about, which is, obviously people like Peter Mandelson, people like the Prince, former Prince, here are people who appear to be very complicit in this and are facing consequences. How is it possible that in Britain, which is not the epicenter of the Epstein scandal, which is not the establishment in which Jeffrey Epstein mostly moved, he gave extraordinary degree to which he was an international figure, and people all over the world are caught up in this web. But here at Ground Zero, there's nothing like that. And yes, there has been it's been a very large political story for us for the past 8 months. But to your point about accountability, no one is being called to the carpet in this way, legally or politically. Was a story in the New York Times and Mike Schmidt's paper yesterday that basically said Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, who has been laid bare as having just lied, not just lied, but flagrantly lied, theatrically lied in the most egregious way you could about his contacts with Jeffrey Epstein, had to go in front of a Senate committee and admit that he'd lied. Is our House committee is the word coming out of the Trump administration? No consequences for him. He's doing fine. The president's got his full confidence. It's really quite extraordinary.
Well, it's extraordinary. Yeah. It's also the fact that the Republicans really just don't care. They just don't seem to care at all about who has committed the potential crimes against these young women. There's one or two that have, but other than that, and Marjorie Taylor Greene ran out of Congress by insisting on it. But Kathy, you look and see, and Howard Lutnick got caught in lying. Yeah. Time and again, lying in just the most egregious way, and yet no consequences for him. You have a man who many people have considered to be at the epicenter of Jeffrey Epstein's rise and his growth, and a guy who'd been around Epstein nonstop. James Comer calls a hearing for him, calls a deposition for him, and allows it to be in his home state of Ohio. Not a single Republican shows up. They're doing a show trial with Bill and Hillary Clinton later.
And joining me now, an attorney for several of the Epstein survivors, Jennifer Freeman. Jennifer, it's great to have you joining us today. One of the survivors that you represent, Maria Farmer, released a statement earlier saying in part, today is just the beginning of accountability and justice. If today is the beginning, well, in your view, what comes next?
Well, accountability looks like more than Prince Andrew or formerly Prince Andrew. It looks like looking at whoever was involved in this conspiracy, in this sex trafficking, in trading of information, whatever it turns out to be. We saw yesterday a disturbing thing came out in Mr. Wexner's deposition in that the FBI had never spoken to him. There needs to be a proper investigation, and then accountability can follow.
Speaking of the Wexner deposition, were you surprised that no Republicans were present for that? What did that tell you about the seriousness with which some of our representatives, our lawmakers, are taking this moment?
It's frustrating not to have full attention on this when the purpose is truth and accountability and transparency. It's very frustrating if everyone is not participating. They really should be.
Well, one Republican who certainly has been on the front lines of this is Congressman Thomas Massie, who pushed, of course, for the release of these files very aggressively. And he posted on X today, "We need justice in the United States. It's time for AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel to act." Do you think that the former prince's arrest overseas will change the dynamics, the pressure, particularly on the Justice Department?
We have an important update from Washington about President Donald Trump's tariff and our major case now before the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could make up this decision very soon, possibly as early as Friday, about whether President Trump has a legal authority to impose broad global tariffs. This case is very important because tariffs are a key part of Trump's economic policy during his second term. Tariffs are taxes placed on goods coming into the United States from other countries. Governments use tariffs to protect local industries, encourage domestic production, and reduce dependence on foreign imports. Last year, President Trump introduced wide global tariffs on many imported goods. His administration said the goal was to protect American industries, especially manufacturing, and steel. Recently, Trump visited a steel facility called Cusa Steel Corporation in Rome, Georgia. After touring the factory, he said that business and steel production are growing again because of his tariff policy. He told reporters that what he calls the Trump tariffs are helping American factories receive more orders and increase production. According to Trump, the factory he visited received a large new order in October, and he credited the tariffs for that growth. Supporters of the tariffs said that helped American workers by making foreign products more expensive and giving U.S. companies a competitive edge. However, the tariffs are now facing a major legal challenge. The key question in the Supreme Court case is about presidential power. The Trump administration uses a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IPA, to justify the tariffs. This law allows the president to regulate economic activity, including imports, during a national emergency. The administration argued that the trade situation and economic risks justified emergency action. But critics disagree. The U.S. Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the main power to set tariffs and control trade policy. Groups challenging the tariffs is court say President Trump went beyond his legal authority by imposing broad global tariffs without clear limits on their size. They argue that emergency powers should not be used to make major long-term trade decisions that normally require congressional approval. Legal experts say the Supreme Court's decision could have major economic and political consequences. If the court rules against Trump, it could limit his ability to use tariffs and weaken a central part of his economic strategy. It could also affect future presidents by setting limits on how emergency powers can be used in trade policy. On the other hand, if the court supports Trump's authority, it would give the president more power to act quickly on trade issues without waiting for Congress. Businesses, investors, and international trading partners are watching the case closely. Tariffs affect prices, supply chains, international relations, and the overall economy. Some companies benefit from protection against foreign competition.